Hey there, it's John Keating. I'm back with the very first volume of cards I should have by now. Talked about this a little bit earlier this week. I'm going to try a few new things here to mix it up in the B sides and deep cuts of hobby content. Cards I should have by now. Just a reminder if you caught my first reawakening earlier this week, these are not cards that are on a hit list. I have those cards somewhere else listed. These are cards that somewhere along my life I probably should have had by now. There's maybe a story involved. There may not be a story involved. They're just probably things I should have. And we'll see how many of these I can get through. One of the things about this whole thing is there's a shelf life to this, right? Because in theory, like I said, I should have these cards by now. So, uh, as we go along, or as I go along in this little uh, lap around whatever I'm doing here, I'll probably end up fulfilling some of these promises to myself and picking up these cards as we go along. So, this was not this particular card I'm going to talk about today on day one of cards I should have by now. Isn't was not the impetus or the muse for creating this. That I might get to on the next episode. But as I said, since there's a shelf life, this card here that I've been after for a very long time, over 30 plus years, I have a feeling my drought is going to come to an end very, 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 very soon. And perhaps that will be another story down the road. So, Williams of Orange, who are we talking about? We're talking about a gentleman I consider the greatest hitter of all times, Theodore Samuel Williams. Um, no doubt in my mind about this, folks. I know Babe Ruth has a lot of the big power records and stuff like that. Teddy Ballgame, the kid, the Splendid Splinter, he's a pretty darn good hitter, and people who know, as the kids say these days, and sometimes they even abbreviate that, and I'm too dense to figure that out. But if you know, you know. Ted Williams, left fielder, Boston Red Sox, of course, one team player. I learned about Ted Williams because my guy, Carl Michael Yastrzemski, took over for Ted Williams in left field in Boston's Fenway Park. And if you want to go even more modern day, Jim Rice took over for uh, Carl Yastrzemski eventually. So think about that. Williams to Yastrzemski to Rice, the 30s, all the way up until the 80s. Pretty impressive there. So Ted Williams, again, this is a man who, if you doubt he's the greatest hitter of all time, uh, 482 on base percentage. Several times, Ted Williams had more home runs than strikeouts. Ted Williams won 2 MVPs, and Ted Williams won 2 Triple Crowns. And Ted Williams batted 406 in a year where he didn't win the Triple Crown. So a 406 year, the last guy to do that, 2 Triple Crowns. And guess what? Neither of those 2 MVP seasons happened during his Triple Crown or 400 batting average season. Pretty phenomenal. Teddy Ballgame only finished with 2,654 hits, had 521 home runs, 1,839 RBIs, close to 1,800 runs scored. This is a man who lost 3 complete seasons to World War II, parts of 2 other seasons to the Korean War, and then there was a couple other years where he didn't play 100 games or hovered slightly above 100 games. So this is a guy, 2,600 hits in his career, and missed many, many seasons, at least probably 6 or 7 seasons. In his prime, like Bob Feller, went away to World War II and gave it all and came back and just kept going. Led the league in on base percentage. Let's count this up together 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. 1, 2, 3 of those times, 3 out of 12 times he was on base more than half of the times he grabbed his bat and headed to home plate. So Teddy ball game, greatest hitter ever, 145 RBIs in his rookie season. I probably don't need to tell everybody this, but it's fun to just look at his stats for sure. Let's look at something else here. We'll talk about his service record again here. Right there. So you probably can't see it. I'll bring it up a little bit better here. Uh, Quite a lot of medals there. Presidential Medal of Freedom, Victory Medal, Korean Service Medal with 2 Bronze Stars, all sorts of fun stuff there. One more Bronze Star for the Asian Pacific or Asiatic Pacific Campaign, National Defense Service Medal. These are all medals that were given to the regular chaps, or most of them were. The Gold Star Air Medal, he won 2 of those. He earned that all himself. So Teddy was a player on the field and in the cockpit for sure. Cantankerous gentleman, and if you know anything about me, you know that I love the feisty ones. You like war, 121 war. He was banging out 10 war seasons on either side of his 3-year hiatus in World War II. So Teddy ballgame, another 5 years, no doubt he would have been up in the 170s or so, would have had his 3,000 hits, would have had his 600 home runs, and I doubt his OPS, which is 1.116, or his on-base percentage would have been affected by any of that stuff. He still would have kept going strong for sure. Possibly MVP of the 43, 44, and 45 seasons if he hadn't given it all to serve his country. So that's Teddy ball game there. You're asking why am I talking about Teddy ball game? So Ted Williams had again, he's a bit of a cantankerous guy, and great hand-eye coordination, except for right now because his hands and his eyes are in different time zones at this point. But Teddy was a bit of a card conundrum for us collectors. Bowman early, Topps middle, and then he came out with his own dang series in 1959. We're going to talk a little bit about a card that I had my eyes on, like I said, probably as a teenager, possibly as a young 20-year-old, but it has to be in the late 80s somewhere. A gentleman named Timothy Poth, had a card store on Route 30 on the main line in Fraser, Pennsylvania, back in the 80s. And it was one of those card stores that to this day I still love. You go in there and just had everything. And in that, one of those display cases was a 1954 Topps Ted Williams #1. It's the orange one, right? So this card, $80, Tim Poth had it for back in the day. And I would go in there and look at that thing probably once or twice a month and say, wow, $80 is a lot of money. At that time, I was probably pulling in close to a fifth of a G a week. So that's probably $200 a week I was making. But I still couldn't pull the trigger. Of course, that's pre-tax. So it was probably more like $198 after taxes. But I couldn't pull the trigger on this card. Now, 1954, Ted Williams, it was his Topps debut. And they were so happy to have old Teddy Ballgame that they gave him 2 cards, right? They gave him the #1, the orange, and they gave him a yellow one at the back end. The rear end of the set, they call that the stern. That's card number 250. And different cards, different poses, all that fun stuff. Ted smiling, which is a rare occasion, but Teddy smiling, and he would do that later on. There'd be 55 and a 56 card. I've got the 56, the 57, and a couple or a bunch of the 59 Fleers. So Ted, welcome to Topps, is what they said. Here's 2 cards. A very rare occasion because there's nothing differentiating the front of the cards. They both look like regular issue cards, featuring a color photo of Ted and then a black and white swinging photo, and Ted Williams, outfield, Boston Red Sox, with a neat little Red Sox logo in the upper left corner, both featuring his facsimile signature. So Topps would, over the course of the years, make many sets where they'd have their superstars and multiple cards, but usually all stars or um, league leaders and other two-player cards, three-player cards throughout the years, as we know. But this was one of those weird occasions, and it might even be one of the only occasions in the vintage era where one player has basically two cards in the base set that are just dedicated to him for no other reason other than they think he's pretty cool. So let's talk a little bit about these cards again. Now, card number 250 is a little different. Card number 250 has a bunch of cartoons on the back of it. Theodore Samuel Williams, uh, outfielder, Boston Red Sox. C tops card number 1 for biography and official baseball statistics. So the back of the card tells us all sorts of fun, neat stuff like Ted joined the Red Sox in 38. He hit 366 at Minneapolis. In 41, he could have sat out the last game for a 400 average. Instead, he played and wound up with a 406 average. In 1947, he set a 5-year straight record in runs scored. In 46 and 49, he was most valuable. He was voted the league's most valuable player. Ted finished the 1952 All-Star game after fracturing his elbow. Marine duty there, bottom left, bottom center as well. It says he came back but broke his shoulder in 54 training. Let me see. Let me get out of this real quick because I done put my own picture over top of the card, so I can't even read it. So the bottom left says he was recalled to the Marines in 52. Was he through? He came back but broke his shoulder in 54 training. A real champ. He played again early in the season. So that's the back of his card number 250, the second card that he has in the set. Again, card number 1 is the one that kind of fascinates me because that's the one I saw in the display case. And let's look at the back of that, see where old Teddy Ballgame was in career-wise in 1954. 6'3", 205 pounds. He batted left, he threw right. His home, even then, was in South Miami, Florida. Obviously, we know he was born and raised in San Diego, but he was a fisherman through and through and lived most of his life in Florida. October 30th, 1918 is his birthday. Ted is one of the greatest hitters of all time. They knew that in 1954, y'all. In 41, he hit 406, the only time any big leaguer hit over 400 since 1930. And as we know, that would be the last time ever for that to happen. He led the AL in homers in 41, 42, 47, 49, named the most valuable player in 46 and 49. Ted started 9 All-Star games hitting 407. He has the highest lifetime batting average of any active player. That batting average at that point would have been 348. Couple more cartoons on the back of old card number 1. Inside baseball, Ted has always been a hero on the diamond or off. At 35, he was back in the Marines to fly in Korea. He was in the service for 14 months. He returned to baseball, and on one of his first appearances, belted a towering home run, they tell us. So that's the back of card number 1. $80 I could have had this thing for in the late 80s. I don't know what condition it was in. I didn't pay attention to that. But we can certainly talk about what's going on now with this card in the card world. Let me see if I could share my screen again, folks. Figure this whole thing out. Bam, window. All right. So here is Beckett OPG. It stands for Online Price Guide. Beckett stands for Beckett. So you could see on my screen there that a mint in Beckett real-time pricing says between $1,000 to $2,500 this card goes for. They list the mint as $12,500. A poor condition card at about $250. Again, this is card number 1. Card number 250 is the same pricing now. Now there's supposed to be gray backs on this and all that stuff, but I don't think there's any variables in pricing for those. Perhaps I'm wrong. Now, one of the funky things about this is the first card and the last card we know usually draw premiums, especially in the 50s, 60s, and even some of those So some of those kids in the 70s used to wrap their cards in rubber bands as well. So card number one and card number 250 in this set, first and last, susceptible to the conditions, rubber bands, UV lighting, and general wear and tear as well. Let's look at Terapeak will tell us what the last several have sold for, and these are some sales actually in the month of April 2023. A Ted Williams 1954 Topps Vintage number one Red Sox VG to VGX wrinkle sold for $175 on April 6th. $103 low grade creasing. I don't know what that means. Says read you whatever. Graded wise, a PSA 4 recently went for $400. That was an auction price. PSA 1, $250. So they're in a affordable range now. For a gentleman of my means, I should probably jump on that for sure. Yeah, I should probably jump on that for sure. Let's see what else we can talk about here with this set. Again, I have a 105 Topps 54s, and a Ted Williams ain't one of them. But I have a feeling, that that may change pretty darn soon. Lucky enough to say that I may have caught a lucky break finally. So let me share up one more time here. I need to find out where my mouse is. And then I'm going to share up here. And then we'll talk about the 54 set a little bit here, if y'all don't mind. So let's see here. Bam, present, stop screen, present. Pretty impressive that I can talk to myself while I do this. All right. So here is a Beckett OPG snapshot again. So we see Ted Williams up there, number one. And again, Ted in number 50. So 54 Topps, obviously loaded with straight up ballers, as the kids say. Hank Aaron rookie card, Ernie Banks rookie card. Now the Ted Williams number one card and 250 cards are considered probably the tied with third with Jackie Robinson's 54 for the third most valuable in the set, ahead of our friend Willie Mays, K-Line rookie, and some other cards in there. So not bad having two out of the top five cards for one player, especially, I guess probably has a lot to do with where they stand in the set at the top and the bottom of the rubber band stack. A little bit more about that 1954 Topps set, which says has a total value of $42,295. Average value of $140.98. 300 cards, 50 of those being back variations, but a 250 card set. 69 rookies in there. Complete set will run you between $10,000 and $25,000 US dollars. Ted Williams also featured prominently on the advertising for this. We'll learn that in a second. The cards in this 250 set measure approximately 2 5/8 by 3 3/4. Each of the cards in the 54 Topps set contains a large headshot of the player in color, plus a smaller length photo in black and white set against a color background. The cards were issued in 1 card penny packs or 5 card nickel packs. 15 card cello packs have also been seen. The penny packs came 120 to a box, while the nickel packs came 24 to a box. The nickel boxes had a drawing of Ted Williams along with his name printed on the box to indicate that Williams was part of this product. The set contains the rookie cards of Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks, and Al Kaline, and 2 separate cards of Ted Williams, number 1 and 250. Conspicuous by his absence is Mickey Mantle, who apparently was the exclusive property of Bowman during the 1954 and 55 seasons. The first 2 issues of Sports Illustrated magazine contained card inserts on regular paper stock. The first issue showed actual cards in the set in color, while the second issue showed some created cards of New York Yankees playing in black and white, including Mickey Mantle. There was also a Canadian printing of the first 50 cards. These cards can be easily discerned as they have gray backs rather than white backs of the American printed cards. To celebrate this set, As the first top set to feature Ted Williams, his Visage is also featured on the 5 cent box. The Canadian cards came 4 packs to 4 cards to a pack and 36 packs to a box and cost 5 cents when issued. So that's a little bit about the 54 Ted Williams cards in the 54 set in general. Uh, just another little fun thing here. My first Ted Williams card was the 76 Sporting News all-time All-Stars. Great shot at Teddy with, I think, the green monster behind him, or Williamsburg, whatever that is. I can't tell from the shot. But I remember seeing his stats in there, and it was just phenomenal seeing this man's career stats and the fact that he missed many games and seasons due to injuries and military service. Um, so I've been on record saying that set really taught me a lot about the history of baseball. Another thing that struck me about that was the fact that Ted Williams seemed so much more contemporary than a lot of the other people depicted on that set. Your Babe Ruths, your Honus Wagners, Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Lefty Grove, Mickey Cochran, all those guys, Pie Trainer, they all seemed like they were from a completely different century. Ted Williams was alive, was active when this set came out. Active meaning he was still in the public eye. Of course, he had his stint as a Senators and Texas Rangers manager for several years prior to this 76 set coming out. So that's my first introduction and my first Ted Williams card. And um, that subset will always have a special place in my heart. Now, by my desk here, every day I keep it's like a pair of earrings. I should probably put them on my headphones. I keep a 71 and a 70 Ted Williams card. They're straight up beaters. I had the 70 card. I probably got the 70 card back in the late 70s, maybe the early 80s. 71 card, same thing. So I just like Teddy Ball Game. I think he was a great player, obviously, but I just loved his attitude. One thing, I was over at my LCS just the other day. When I say other day, I mean yesterday. And he had bought some 54 Bowmans recently, like within the last month or so. And I was, of course, interested in card 61, the Ted Williams Bowman card. Not only do I think it's a great card, I'm really high on the 54 Bowman set in general right now, but the story behind the 54 Bowman Ted Williams, obviously Topps felt like they had an exclusive. So Bowman, having hosted Ted Williams the previous seasons, had to pull the card midstream, as they say. They had to pinch it and zip up and pull the card out. And anyway, I had my eyes on that, and my local LCS owner had just sold and traded cash and a 59 Bob Gibson SGC4 for that 54 raw Ted Williams Bowman. Little bummed about that, but I did get to explain to him the story behind it, which he did not know about that controversial card and the Jimmy Pearsall replacement. So perhaps that's something further on down the line I'll be able to bump into. Not card I should own by now, but a card definitely worthy of my hit list. So I guess that's it for now. It's 6:34. I've already been to Olive Garden. It's probably time for my bath and bed right now. So that's about that. If you have a comment, just drop one in the dookie down below. And I'm going to try to get better at responding to comments, because I think you're probably all a little sick of me just hitting the little love button, which I do love, but I have a hard time accepting anybody leaving anything positive about anything about me. So I apologize for that. So that's that. 54. Card number 1, Ted Williams, Topps. Williams of Orange. Thanks for joining me on air or in your eyes. And please enjoy your collecting. And more importantly, Enjoy your collection. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Appreciate it.